Cool. Cool. 3, 2.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Relebogile Mabotja podcast, where we talk to cool people about interesting things. Today's person, cooler than cool, but also somebody that I just have a special place in my heart for, Dineo Ranaka. I could say so many of her titles, from DJ to radio host, television presenter, businesswoman, but she's also a mom. And I respect mothers so much. So welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for the invite. Thank you for having me.
I'm like, she came.
I came. Listen, when I got the invite, literally, it didn't take me minutes. In seconds, I was like, yes, we can do this. We can do this. Safe space, yeah.
I love trying to remember when I see people I've known in the industry for long, when we first met, and I can't remember when we met.
I can't remember when we first met. I can't remember when I first took a liking to you. I can't remember when I first realized that I actually have a profound respect for this woman. I can't remember none of that, but I know all of it.
Oh my God.
I know all of it. I know that I do like you. I know that I do love you. I know that I enjoy your work. I know that I do profoundly respect you. And I know that from a distance, I'm always rooting for you. But where it all started, don't bother asking me.
I don't remember.
Please don't stress me. Don't stress me. Yeah.
I do remember being at your house.
Which one?
What was I doing at your house? I'm trying to even remember.
Please remind me. When?
It might have been an apartment in Hyde Park.
An apartment in Hyde Park. Oh my goodness, yes, because I did live at an apartment in Hyde Park.
But what was I doing there?
What were you doing there?
I don't know.
What were we doing there?
It might have been, this is what I think it was about. So I had been brought in to musical direct something on Afro Cafe in the earlier seasons. And I was trying to convince a bunch of actors who can sing
to come and sing.
I think that's why I was at your house.
Most probably. Because I remember that Afro Cafe on SABC2,
yes.
Yeah, I remember.
Do you know I still remember the song you sang?
Yes, I also remember.
You drive me crazy, step away from me, my heart is aching, it's the best of me. Oh my gosh!
Girl, here we are.
I remember us sitting on the floor and we were just having a real conversation about life. That I do remember, but I've always just had mad respect for you.
Thank you.
And at the time, we had such a big conversation around mental health.
Yeah.
And you were telling me about what was, I think you had just gotten your diagnosis.
For temporal lobe epilepsy.
Yes!
Yeah, that was at my YFM days. Yeah, because I got, I self-admitted because I felt, so this is what I always do.
Yeah.
Every time my emotions scare me, I know that it's time to stop the lorry. It's time to stop the clock.
What would scare you? Give me an example, like anger or excitement or...
Particularly what society calls the negative emotions, which I think are part of, you know, your healthy emotions because they need to be expressed. But when I feel like I'm unable to control my anger, anxiety or fear, I feel like it's time to stop the lorry. I either need to go check myself in medically to see if there's anything outside of what I know that might be wrong, or I feel like I need to check in deeply with God and find out if it's anything outside of the medical sphere that I might not be, if I'm missing something. So I remember then on YFM, I had a breakdown on air during one of my radio shows, and everybody knows me to this to be this happy-go-lucky broadcaster. But then that day...
Which show were you doing at the time?
It was Afternoon Drive. It was Afternoon Drive, it was Afternoon Drive. It was still Dineo Live on Drive, We had come from a weekend in Cape Town. I had been exposed to a personal experience that shocked me out of my core. And it was so unfair, and it never left my system. So deeply entrenched in my system, that traumatic experience, that I unraveled on air. And then that's when I said, okay, hold on. We need to go and we need to just, I mean, we can't be this way.
Yeah.
And I remember checking into Life Riverfield. And that's when I got the diagnosis here for temporal lobe epilepsy.
Jeez.
And so many other things about me started making sense. Yeah.
Just in terms of how it impacts your emotional stability.
Emotional stability, quite a lot. Mood regulation, quite a lot. And paired with hypothyroidism. These are not easy diagnoses. What's the English word? What's the proper one?
Diagnoses.
Diagnoses, I'm not too sure.
I'm not too sure either.
I mean, guys, you'll forgive us. These are not easy truths to find out about yourself medically, and once you comprehend what they mean, once you understand the thyroid gland and the role it plays in your life, in your body and the functionality of your body, once you understand your lobes in your brain and each lobe's functionality, when you realize that, geez, this is probably why I am quirky in this way. This is probably why I'm different in that way. A lot of things started making sense, and I started having almost like a deeper respect for myself for being able to carry so much in terms of life experiences, which is not unique from anyone else. But we don't trivialize our own stories just because somebody else has a greater story or knows a greater pain. I still think we owe it to ourselves to respect our own stories. And I started having a very profound relationship with self and a deep respect for myself to say, but you carry disaster very well, young lady, not too shabby, not too shabby. And I'm proud of you for being open and emotional the way you are, and keep at it. I gave myself a stamp of approval when everyone else was either suspicious of me being on drugs or this, that, and the other, and I was pinned to all of these things way back in the beginning of my career. And to me, it was like, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they say. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they think. Same as we would say, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. But I know. So I must walk in my truth.
So were people accusing you of certain things because that was the way to explain whatever they were seeing or whatever the behavior was?
I believe so. I believe so. And I also think that the media is the entertainment industry is very weird. Because I'm a free-spirited person, I don't make it a point to know every human being in the entertainment zoo. I'm a terrible networker. I do my work, I knock off, I go into my carefree life. And sometimes if you bring your carefree spirit into a professional workspace, you step on people's toes and they take offense, and then they build narratives around your name. And it's unfortunate that, that is one of the things that transpired with me. But also people truly just misunderstood, like, why is she a different mold of girl in the industry? Why is she not moldable? Why is she not controllable? Why is she not red carpet ready? Why is she not a Barbie doll sort of presented type of girl? Never have been, never would be, have no desire to be. Don't disrespect anyone that is. But there was always some sort of, we need to correct Dineo, but Dineo doesn't need correcting. She's outspoken, she's free-spirited, she's got a childlike sort of approach to life, and she's got a depth in her reasoning capacity, she's got a depth in her logic, and she's got a depth in how she views life. Leave her as she is. You can't dress all of us in the same dress size. That's just, it doesn't make sense. But I'm realizing one of the things I've always had the utmost respect, and I don't think I've ever shared this with you. You are so comfortable to just jump into things, right? So you never think about what are people gonna think about what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. I've loved that about you, but the one thing that I used you as a reference for my big decision in my life, when I was leaving Metro, and I was kind of like, I don't think I'm going to continue. And I remember at the time my manager was like, once you're off, it's hard to get back on. It's not likely. And you had come from being off raid. I think you had come from 947, and then you were now going to Metro. And I remember saying to myself, if Dineo could do it, where the timing was right for her to do what she was doing, I know I can do it. And I had turned down the Metro offer, the
two other station offers, because I kind of said to myself, it doesn't feel right. And I just think it's not gonna work if it's not feeling right. To the point that I had even told myself maybe radio is not for me.
And it's so for you.
But I so remember saying to my manager, Dineo got back on radio. If it's meant to be, it will be. And then the right offer came along. And I was speaking to my former boss, now current boss again. And I was like, I don't even know if I can still do radio. Like, I know it's such a weird thing because it's in your muscle memory.
It's in your muscle memory.
But things happen that make you be like, oh, you know what? Let me just leave this radio thing. But you were such a critical reference point for the fact that you can leave something, and when people want you back, they will have you back.
I think the mistake we make, Lebone, in life, it's such a big mistake, but we trivialize it, and it's such a big pothole where dreams go to die. We become so committed to one decision, and we commit people to their decisions in that moment. You have a right to change your mind.
Yeah.
You have a right to rewrite your narrative.
Yeah.
You have a right to be humbled by God also, to be embarrassed by him, to say, I warn you with your tongue, never say never, because I am the mastermind.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And I can't think of, I never overcommit myself to any of my decisions. I don't.
What was the name of the company that you had? It was like an agency. I can't remember the name. I see colorful blocks.
Brains at Work Media.
Yes.
Yes, Brains at Work Media. Brains are forever at work.
And and just like, I always am like, guys, Dineo Ranaka stop. If she's not happy,
You
she
have
moves
to
on
try.
to the next. She doesn't care about how she's going to look to people. Like, ma'am, I have the utmost respect to you for that. And I just appreciate being able to have a reference, because longevity, as you know, in this industry is tough. Stability is tough with the changing times. And much as we are confident and we know we're good at what we do, we still have moments when we're like, but...
We do.
Yeah,
those moments when you're like, Mara, no, I don't embarrass easily. And I think most of the people that disagree with my existence and that really wish the industry could just finally do away with me, you are not in luck, unfortunately. And here's why you are not in luck. You are definitely not in luck because I truly do not embarrass easy. And most people don't like that about people like me. They want us to be embarrassed. They want us to be ashamed.
Yeah.
They want us to carry this, like, just because I feel, I'll make an example. If you're wearing your hair like that, and I can't possibly imagine myself wearing my hair like that, I want you to not wear your hair like that because of how I feel about your hair like that. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. It's the same thing with people that say they won't date a certain type of person. Now they expect all of us to not be attracted to that type of person. But that's a you thing.
Yes.
Your shame is your shame. Your embarrassment is your embarrassment. Don't displace it on me.
Yeah.
I am absolutely shameless. I'm not embarrassed in my mistakes. I'm not embarrassed in my decision making, some that have backfired, some that have taught me substantial lessons in life. I carry no shame because God knows my heart.
Yeah.
God knows my truth. God knows I've consulted with him on how I'm going to use my free will. And I say to him, I will lean on you should it not work out. But you have gifted me with my free will. I will express it with your blessing. And sometimes I might not be in alignment of your purpose or your calling on my life, but I'm going to try things. I'm definitely going to try things. Why would this room be all gray? We need a splash of pink.
Yes.
We need a splash of yellow.
Yes.
You know?
I get you.
Then it's boring.
Yeah, and I know the Bazotini syndrome is like...
It's heavy in society.
Yes, and it's only now that I am approaching my 40s that I'm in a much better place. But there is something you do that I know for a fact I'd never be able to do, which is through your reality show and the reality show with your family is putting everything out.
Now, this is what people think. People think we put everything out.
No, it's curated.
But we put enough out there that we can handle you knowing behind the scenes and when the cameras are off. We still protect a lot about ourselves.
Yes.
So that goes to show you how layered human beings are. You know so
even
much.
The part you have put out,
it's a lot,
ma'am.
It's a lot.
Respect, because it's so like, I can't even put out certain struggles until I've fully processed it myself. And I know it might sound hypocritical because a lot of what I enjoy doing is having conversations with people and having them open up. But I also am very, I call it curated transparency. Where I am transparent, you're going to get the me that you see, but there's a lot I keep to myself. With you saying that you don't embarrass easily, what would you say was one moment that you felt totally embarrassed? And it doesn't have to even be something that happened publicly. It could have been at school. But is there any moment that you felt like the earth would swallow you in that moment?
No.
Really?
There's none. Relebogile, you have no idea how God designed me. I wish people could understand that you waste your breath on a person like me. You really do. Why would I be embarrassed when God sees all my kinks and cracks? What is embarrassing? When God sees the naked truth about you, what more is embarrassing? If I'm embarrassed when I go to God in prayer and I say, for me, those are the real intimate moments. That's why you will not hear me talk and detail my fasting. You will not ever, even whether it's a Daniel fast season, you go to your Father in private, who hears your heart in private, and He will reward you publicly. You carry your hunger gracefully. You bath. You don't show that you are fasting. You don't boast and post that you are fasting. That I would be embarrassed about if I did that.
Oh.
But being human, how can I be embarrassed of being human? I'm God's design. He knows that I was born with sin in my heart. Why am I embarrassed? He knows the reason why I'm like this is why I need Him. I am imperfect so I can glorify Him and bring glory to His name. He is complete as a father because of my brokenness.
Yes.
What is there to be embarrassed about?
Yeah.
Why am I carrying all this public shame of people's opinion? Guys, I that's why I say there's nothing. Help me understand why I should be embarrassed in front of an audience of human beings that are exactly like me. We're the same.
I think
we bleed. We're broken. We feel. We make mistakes.
All do with. I think it's a trait we could all do with because, people are obviously mean. They are viewing life through whatever their experiences are. They're projecting, and it's tough. So just to come back to what I was saying, which is that I respect so much that you have zero about what people say.
Nothing.
You try what you want to try.
Zero.
And I think I could be further in life had I been a bit more braver about certain decisions in terms of this industry and my career decisions. I mean, I don't regret anything, and I know I'm exactly where I need to be right now. But I do look at certain things where I'm like, I cared too much. You should have just started before. And I absolutely love that about you. When you were doing the reality show, how did you decide what should not make the final cut? For yourself, because obviously I never like to use the word scripted. Reality show is not scripted. It is curated in a certain way, right?
Well, I think some are scripted, some are plotted.
Yes.
I'm a plotter.
Yes.
I'm not a scripter. And I'll use the Ranakas as an example. I like to say, along with the family, when we sit and we are talking about the theme for each season.
Yes.
Right? We'll say, where do we find ourselves as a family?
Yes.
What's the shared sentiment? What message as a family, given the platform, do we want to impart on society? And then from there we say, Managa, what do you have happening in your life? Nompumelelo, what are the critical things that are happening in your life? Mzingese, Dineo Ranaka, mommy, daddy. And then we look at our kids, then we say, where's the common thread? So that we can weave the different things that are happening in our lives to tell this family narrative. And I think that's the power of storytelling. And then there's precasted reality shows where these people don't know each other from a bar of soap. They are precast, they are going to be brought together to seem like they're a circle of friends or this or a community, and then spanners in the works, we script this, we script that, you're going to come into this scene and say this and say that, you're going to, let's whisper to this one, you're going to trigger her by saying this and saying that. So I'm more of a plotter, and which leans to the curation that you're speaking of. I like to take what realistically is happening. And then we talk about boundaries, and we do boundary setting. And then thereafter, I leave everything to God. Can I tell you how much work God does for me? God does not sleep on my name. Like, God is working overtime because I rest so much in His presence. I have no worries in my life. I have absolutely no worry at all. If sleep deprivation can kill you faster than hunger, then you must take God's advice, rest and fast. Manage your flesh. Take God's advice. And then I say, Father, I've done what I can do, and I leave all my production at the altar.
Yes.
I leave all of it at the altar. I say, this is what the family has decided, and I pray upon it. And I say, you are the ultimate executive producer of this show. We, in our own free will, this is what we are deciding. This is the direction. But I know that when you throw a spanner in the works for us, it's always to our best benefit, and it's always for our growth. And then we just go with the flow. But we know exactly what we're getting ourselves into, and therefore we're not surprised. And therefore we are not shamed. Therefore we are not embarrassed. We just want to share. So that's how I go through life. I allow for God to plot my life. Yeah. That's that, man. That's that.
When it was announced that you were going to be hosting the Kaya Breakfast show, I remember being so excited for you.
So was I.
Like, I was like, it is her time. You've earned the place. And because we know of what the history has been around breakfast shows and who's leading and all of those things, what was the first thing that made you feel like, that, as Oprah would say, what was?
I love that question so much. Nobody's ever thought to ask me that question. I think, well done. There was a narcissistic energy from some of my colleagues. And I call it a narcissistic energy because if you had empathy in you, you would know not to do that. And that narcissistic aura is also, it comes with a level of arrogance. And it comes with a need to not so much ridicule, but reduce you to a size they see you at. And here's what it was. It's so small, but it's so big. When your colleagues, certain colleagues, that think to trivialize your experience in broadcasting and coach you pre and post show, why? There's a culture there that has been left to brew and ferment too long, that people walk around the walls in that building with the sense of, you need my teachings. I actually don't. I actually don't. Not from you. The industry, as radio itself, has taught me a lot. I come with skills, and I don't need to prove myself to you. You are not my check signer. Through my lens, I'm your equal, you are my equal. Actual fact, I'm your senior, given the flagship of the show. So calm down. I did not sign a contract to be trained on radio. I signed a contract because of what I bring into radio. Don't steal that from me. And when that started happening, regularly, and it happened to me alone, not to the
other
both of
people.
us.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't a, guys, as a team, let's just have a quick little huddle here. Here's how we can improve. It was a Dineo thing. It was a she thing, a you thing. Again, why do you feel the need to correct what God has instilled in me?
So it wasn't
You have a
coming
God
from
syndrome.
management, it was just a colleague.
That's when I started feeling, nee man, ndiyaqhelwa apha. Hayi ndiyaqhelwa shem. And then you get things like, you speak to your management and you're like, I'm not feeling okay. I can't put my finger on it. There's something wrong with me. I'm not feeling okay. I can still go another day, but I'm not feeling okay. No support, no care, no nothing. The system itself, it lacks so, it's so empathy deprived. I can't begin to describe it. But anyone who's worked in a corporate industry and has felt that there's no heart here would understand. And that's when I knew. I was like, no man, but this culture is just, this environment perpetuates this ego, this narcissistic energy that feels the need to control, correct. Control, correct. I don't need correcting. Who hired you to correct me? Which part of the HR department do you serve?
Look, and there are a lot of things that happen behind the scenes in what we do where people don't know.
People don't know.
Because it's also hard to articulate
And it's
what it is.
It's thin little plays that you can't really come out and say, I'm being abused.
Yeah.
It's so, and I'm not finger pointing, but this is my story, this is my truth, and you can't take it away from me. It's my experience. And then it goes from that level, and then you experience management at another level, and then you're scared for your life, and then you're gaslit into believing that maybe I am the problem. It took me a whole 2 years to rest in the presence of God, to actually say, I've got things to hold myself accountable for, but I'm not problematic. This is a lie.
So what was the final straw? Because obviously there was the moment of you expressing and sharing publicly about, you know, the suicidal thoughts.
Yeah, yeah.
I was terrified that day, and I remember sending you so many messages and then saying to myself, the moment I saw Manaka respond, I said, she's with family.
Can I tell you what happened that night, the night before?
Yeah.
I'd gone to my friend's house to go, and my helper had gone for her leave days.
Yeah.
I'd gone to my friend's house to go and drop the kids off because I think they were entering into school holidays, and my best friend and I, we share our children.
Yes.
We raise our children together, so we're co-parents for each other. And I drop my children off, and I'm carrying this internal stress. Dineo, you have to wake up on time. You can't oversleep. You have to wake up on time. Can I tell you, when I woke up, I thought I was dead. There was nobody in that big house. It was dead quiet. Usually my kids, and there's the buzz, and I'm waking up, and they're also waking up similar time as me, and I'm getting ready for work. It was dead, dead, dead quiet. I woke up with in-sleep hallucinations that followed me into my wakened state. And it was the layerings. Now, this is how my clinical psychologist and my therapist explained it to me. The things you have been going through in life, Dineo, you have held them in you for such a long time. You may think that you may have expressed your narrative. You may think that you may have healed, but we don't heal in the way that we understand we do.
No, because we intellectualize things.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
sit and physically feeling process we intellectualize and we think because now we can give it a name, Rishab.
When I woke up and when I posted my children, do you know I did not know where my children were?
Wow.
When I wrote Abantwana bam, my children, I did not know where my children were. I did not remember who to call, where to go. When I went to my phone, based on the color, I don't know what my relationship with Instagram was on that morning because that was so out of Dineo's character. I cannot for the life of you tell you what had happened, and the straw that broke the camel's back for me, Relebogile, for the integrity of my personal brand and for my future self, Kaya knows the truth. We'll leave it at that. God fights my battles. We'll leave it at that. God one day will play it as such that those that conspired against my name will one day fight amongst themselves. And the truth will be revealed. I will not go, you know, the court case route and the this and that, the other, and the gaslighting. And how HR played their role. That HR lady, one day she will know her truth. In the history of this story, in the chapter of God's books, on my name, she will know the truth. And I'm not cursing anyone. All I'm saying is, God knows all our truths. God knows the pain I was in that morning. God knows the darkness I was in that morning. God knows the confusion I was in that morning. My partner flew from his work travels, called by my brother and Rifilwe. Mutisel.
Yes.
When I started waking up to the mess that was transpiring, and when I started realizing the narrative that they were putting out there, remember I took a trip to New York?
Yes.
They painted it as though I'm lying about my condition and I absconded from work and I went to New York. In February of that year, I applied for leave. It was approved by management.
So it was already part of...
It was part of.
Yeah.
They suspended me while I was still in hospital. So when I came out of hospital, they fired me because I asked Akeso to release me a day before my release date. And I said, but I'm here involuntary. I'm not here because there is a problem. I'm here because I need to be here. This is my trend. This is what I do. When things get too much, I elect for myself to be taken to a hospital. When you asked me on the phone and said, do you need help? And I said, yes, I would like to be checked in. I said, yes, I want to be, because for 2 months, I've been saying I'm not okay.
Yes.
Borderline 3 months, I've been saying to management in all the meetings post-show, I've been saying, I'm not okay, I'm not okay. I cannot put my finger on it, I'm not okay, I'm not okay. I had applied for my leave to New York. They had approved my leave to New York. They suspended me, and I said, then why am I in the country?
So let me...
I've got a plane ticket to New York.
Yes.
Let me just go and regather myself.
Yeah. So what would you say you understand was going on, just psychologically, mentally? Do you think it was a trigger? Do you think it was trauma coming? What do you think it was?
It was a lot of trauma from my personal experiences. And then that trauma was met with a new trauma from my professional experience in that space, and my confusion about the entire thing. I want to teach people about abuse. Abuse is a thing of the devil. It's there to confuse you. Anything that is godly brings clarity. Anything that confuses you is a negative spirit, and it's there to create chaos and turmoil. So abuse is like that. It's such an evil spirit. That's why a lot of people can't articulate abuse when it happens. They can't, if it's not a physical abuse that is like, that leaves a bruise or a mark or a this or a that, it's difficult to articulate it because it creates so much confusion.
And it's designed to be difficult to do so that you're less reluctant to speak about it.
Less reluctant to speak about it and less believed.
Sorry, more reluctant.
You're more reluctant.
More reluctant, sorry, yes.
More reluctant to speak about it and less believable.
Yes.
Less believed when you do speak about it. But fortunately for me, I don't tell my story for people to believe me. I don't tell my story for a pity party. I don't tell my story to even feel sorry for myself. Actually, matter of fact, I hate feeling sorry for myself.
Yeah.
There's no room for pity parties, and don't feel sorry for me. Don't. God does a fine job at cleaning things up on my behalf.
Yes.
I don't need the pity. I don't need any of that. I cry to my Father in private. He rewards me constantly in public. And that's just how it has been in our relationship. But since we are on this subject, I want to describe it to you as a leak in the toilet.
Yeah.
Ne? You've got this dripping leak in the toilet, and it's not obvious. It's not obvious. You don't hear the drips. But at some point, after a while, when you step on the tile,
There's water.
and the water is not like a puddle of water,
Yeah.
you can feel that this tile is vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's not sticking to the concrete floor like the other tiles. And then you investigate, you call in a professional who comes in with these leak readers. Then they put it by the toilet and it's like, Relebogile ma'am, you have a problem. And it's not a small problem. And that was my moment with my clinical psychologist to say, Dineo, you have a problem. Do you know that I was wetting my bed?
For real.
Yeah.
And how would you explain that to yourself?
I can't. It was,
Like, would you just wake up and...
my bed's wet, and then I'm like, what the heck? Is it post-pregnancy things?
Yes.
Is this what happens to women after we have 3 cesareans? What
Yes.
is this? I was wetting my bed, my memory loss was increasing. I would have in-sleep seizures, meaning you run the risk of dying in your
Yes.
sleep. My time management skills were awful and terrible. My clinical psychologist even said to me, I'm so scared to write that you've got ADHD because they will fire you. They will use it against you. And I said to her, they're going to fire me anyway. So tell me about me. Don't worry about them anymore. I can't worry about them in this next chapter of my life because I need to get me right.
Yeah.
I am not here to fix that institute. I need to get me healthy.
So what...
And divorce is not an easy thing to go
I was
through.
going to say, because you went through a lot in a
small
short period of time, right? You had a baby.
Besides having a baby, I had a baby. That's another podcast for my God. Whew. In the lefetlo, and then that was happening at the time that I was getting married. In my marriage, I was being beaten up and abused, and I was watching myself and my daughter, she was 3 months old in my life, getting beaten up by a drunken husband. There was a lot going on. And this leak, when this expert that you've called into your house to come and check this leak in the toilet. Now imagine this expert as my clinical psychologist, then moves the leak reader, right, to another part of the house, which is just outside the bathroom, and puts it on the floor. Then they say, this leak is now in your passage. It's not just in the bathroom. So we've got to remove the tiles in the bathroom. We've got to remove the flooring in the passage. And then they go further into the lounge and they're like, this is how bad this leak is. Moral of the story, because I don't want to make this about my former employer. I really don't. There's no dignity in that. There's dignity in this. When you go through pain, allow yourself to break. Don't brush it off and try and play strong. Don't brush it off and try and almost like mentally, psychologically prove to anyone outside of yourself that you are stronger than, better than, you can still show up. There are pockets of wisdom that God gives us. And if we read the Bible to truly understand what the Bible is teaching us, it's a simple lesson. And God begs this of all of us. Rest in me. We don't rest. Tiko bantu asi, we don't rest. We want to be these militant human beings. Do you know
That are in control.
That are in control. Do you know I spent the last 2 years doing absolutely nothing.
Really?
But watching everything fall apart.
What for you is everything falling apart?
I can't detail, it's too private, too personal.
Yes.
Watching everything fall apart. The only other person who is worthy of knowing that is my partner, my children, my family.
Yeah.
Everybody else, unfortunately, there's a boundary there because people don't know how to handle the truth, and I've learned this. You share your truth with people and then people just take it and slam it in your face.
Use it against you.
Whereas you're sharing the truth to try and empower them one day for when the tide turns, because it does. But I spent the last 2 years gracefully watching things fall apart. And I had begged for God to keep my neck on the floor. I begged God, I said, make it more painful, Father. Because if it's a pain that comes from you, I know I'm a caterpillar in a cocoon. I begged God to put me on the threshing floor. You know when you go to God and say, punish me. Punish me. And lovingly he did. That refinement process, when you don't go arrogantly to God, but you go humbly to the Lord to say, you hold the blueprint of me. I don't understand this anymore. I don't know this anymore. And also I'm turning 40. So then there's that, the blessing of the gift of life to see it from birth to 40 years. And the curse of the responsibility that comes with that tide that turns.
Yeah.
There was a lot. So I made a conscious decision to not make it about anything outside of me, but make this past 2 years about everything inside of me. Don't look at the restoration that's happening in my life now and think Dineo works hard. I've done nothing. I lifted not even a single finger.
How were you able to give yourself that time and space that you needed?
Agaratidilo.
Yes.
Sesiwe, na ombonene. The people that have experienced me at the local Pick and Pay, at the local grocery store, the local market, the gas station, they will all tell you one thing about Dineo. Dineo haradidilo. I actually don't like attention. I don't even know why I agreed to be here. But I can tell you it's my love for you. And when I say yes and my skin doesn't reject an invite, that means my spirit says, go ahead with it.
Yeah.
There's a message that needs to be delivered, and the message that needs to be delivered might be a message of restoration, but before restoration, there's refinement, right?
Also,
and you have to fully surrender to it.
Parts of us regularly need to die. And
this was the suicide that I learned. This is where I'm coming.
Yeah.
Now, I was not mistaken, and a lot of people think they need to commit suicide. You don't, but yes, there's a death that must happen. But it's not a physical death. That is why every now and again, when you are overwhelmed superbly by life, God wants you to die to yourself to need Him. So die. I died. Yes, I did commit suicide. But I didn't commit the suicide that will make headlines and that will make you feel ashamed of having those thoughts. I am glad I had those thoughts because a part of me needed to die. But thank heavens that I've been walking with God in every season of my life, even when I've been rejecting listening to Him in certain seasons of my life. I've not rejected Him, but I've shut out His voice because of my stubborn need of using my own free will. And my own wisdom. You must die to yourself. What do you think walking with God is like? What did Jesus die for on the cross? That's another different kind of physical death, but it's a spiritual death to redeem us. There are lessons that we cannot deny. The ways of the Lord surpass scientific understanding. They surpass human understanding. There is not a doctor on earth who will doctor what God will doctor in you. If you die to your flesh, die to the ways of the world, die to lust, and lust is not limited to sex, die to addiction, die to ego, die to stubbornness, die to arrogance. You must die in the flesh, spiritually, meaning, Father, take it away.
So all of that you went through, did you only understand what you're sharing now after the fact? Because sometimes you realized it during.
During.
And is
That's
that
why I begged for it.
You surrendered to whatever it was.
Yes. When God says, I am the wind beneath your wings, believe him. When God says, I know you before you were born, believe him. God does not start your story from birth. God starts your story from death, and he writes his way backwards with you. That's a true writer. Anyone who's ever written good books will tell you, start with the end in mind. God has a finished view of you in mind. And then he writes you all the way to your father's seed and your mother's womb. You are finished, but for as long as you believe that it is on your power. Like whether you are atheist, you can tell me you don't believe in God, but let me tell you, the day you meet your hour of death, you will know that there is only one true God.
How?
You will know.
How did you handle your motherhood duties? How did you explain to your children while you were going through these periods in your life? I mean, at some point, somebody outed you being in a queso. And I thought that was such a horrible thing for...
I'm glad they did, actually.
Really?
I'm glad they did.
Why?
Because, guys, it's okay to be in a queso.
Yes.
Really, it's okay. If you think that you're going to take that narrative of Dineo, and somebody even went on my WhatsApp statuses and took one of my posts on my WhatsApp statuses and shared it with not so... platforms that don't hold as the integrity that you hold on your platform. I'm thankful for people when they do this, because when you do this on my behalf and on God's behalf, you're actually an agent of God. Because there's somebody out there who is suffering just like Dineo, and they feel a shame in being admitted at a care. So there's no shame in it. Baby girl, my brother, if you feel like your life is collapsing, go get yourself admitted. It's okay. If you have to take certain meds to survive a certain period of your time until your bearings are back in check, please, there's nothing wrong with that.
Do what you need
Don't
to do.
Don't allow people to shame you for a broken design that God gave you. God in our design, he knows we are broken because we need him.
The thing that pissed me off was that you own your own story and you've always been open. And I don't think anybody had the right to decide for you when it was the time.
Would I have if they hadn't? Let's ask that question.
Probably not.
And this is my perspective when things like this happen. Probably not.
Probably not.
Would I have if they hadn't? So thank your enemy for working in God's plan. Thank your enemy for conspiring and unknowingly subscribing to God's plan. You must thank your enemy. Bless your enemy. These are the things that I've learned there. My ex-husband, when I'm in prayer, I'm praying for his new wife. And I'm praying and I'm saying, if he has not changed, Father, protect her. So if he has not become a better man, Father, give her the tools to survive him. Protect her. You must bless where you have been hurt. You must bless where you have been stolen from. Do you know that I was once tied up in my bed around 3 o'clock in the morning, and when the robbers were gone, my helper and I were tied up. I had to negotiate them in the dead of night. I woke up, I'm like in my bedroom, and then there's 2 guys crawling in my bedroom like this. And I'm like, I'm going to get killed. I'm going to get raped. Father, what is this? When this guy mounted me on my bed, guys, we all have different stories of trauma to tell. When I tell you that I had to die to myself, there's so many things I've experienced in this life that's why I'm asking you. If that enemy of mine and that enemy of so-called progress, that's part of progression in God's plan. Because I've not told the story. I've shared it just now recently loosely because God has done a work in healing my heart. I shared it loosely while commenting on somebody's Instagram post. And I'm like, yes, in trauma, guys, because she was posting about amapara, to say, tell me stories about
the paranormal.
The paranormals,
oh
yes.
My God.
So I said, you're an encounter with the paranormal. This paranormal activity, here's what happened to me. I was tied up around 3 a.m. in my house. When this guy mounted me, understand the fear that's in my heart. My helper is across the room from me. She's also tied up. I'm tied up. My children are in just down the passage. It was scary. These guys are scrummaging. When he mounted the bed, I saw a violent sexual act transpiring. And here's another gift that God has given me with my ADHD self now. And I don't title myself as ADHD because I don't like to hold on to these titles. It's just a diagnosis.
Yes.
And then at the end of the day,
it's not who you are.
It's not who I am.
Yeah.
When things fall apart, I'm very calm. I'm very cool. Those pictures in New York that I posted on Instagram, those weren't a joke. My life was falling apart. I was calm in the middle of those streets, praying even, while the photographer was taking those pictures. God, Father, whatever you're doing, and these were my words in my heart when I was in New York, the thoughts that Dineo was thinking in that frame, I was saying, Father, whatever you are doing, I trust you for it. And I thank you for this little moment to break away from whatever chaos is happening in South Africa, because I'm confused, I don't know. But thank you for the gift of networking and knowing people that have been able to bring me here, just so that I can breathe, because at home I can't breathe.
And just get fresh air.
So Father, I thank you. When I was tied up, this guy's mounting my bed, this para. Hey, yo! I seen a trauma shem.
Oh my gosh.
He's mounting my bed and I'm seeing this and I'm like, God, I don't know what's going to happen, but right now I need to protect my children. So I dare to open my mouth and I say, Bonang, ke a le kopa ne, ntho e le tlo e etsa, ke kopa le sieng fela di-tablet tsa bana. Gore ha ba tsoga, ba ska bona gore ba re qegetseditse hape. Just, a ke na tšhelete ba rekile di-tablet tse ntšha. Ke kopa fela le nthuso protecta bana ba ka, otherwise nkang whatever ele batlang. This guy turned me over, he tied me up, and I thought, yo.
Did he respond to you?
No. They brought the tablets. He was quiet. You can't hear their voices. They're very clinical how they work. He brought the tablets, left them beside me. I slept in my tracksuits and I slept in my wig because I was super tired. This was before I launched my cosmetic line.
Yes.
I was still sampling the products and blah, 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 blah. And then he says to me, Dikiaza discovery ko garage di mo kae. Ke re a ke di tsebe ke sho di tsamaile le ntate o tsamaile o ile go eventing. Never let anyone know that you live alone. Lie if you have to. I lived alone with my kids, but I said, I'm sure di tsamaile le ntate. O ile go eventing. A hona ntate mo ntlong. So when you are calm, you're able to use your brain. One searcher. You know, the keys are in my pocket. This guy searched me. He didn't feel those keys. In those keys, in the car, was my laptop, was my second phone. I always sleep with my gadgets when I'm alone in the vehicle. My second gadgets, that are gadgets of safety, I keep them in the vehicle. Should there be an emergency, I know where to find them. They're in the vehicle. Should I not be able to think, where's the other phone, or forget it, and we have to drive out, when we rest and we arrive at calm, there's a phone in the car. Yes. So nonetheless, to cut a long story short, this guy doesn't find the keys. They take everything. Then after they dealt with me, they go to my helper, then they say, Uzura senjewen. Sister Dilengai. That was the only time she said she heard anyone speak. And ati, ukhulumele phansi. I wish you could interview my helper. She will tell you we were so scared. They tied me up with a charging cable. Luckily, it was those ones that we buy from the Pakistani stores, ne? They're not the original iPhone charger. They've got like a coarse sort of...
Yes. Exterior
thing. So I was able to wiggle, come loose. But before that moment, you know what Para does? Para goes downstairs. Para comes back upstairs, snatches my wig. As he's running downstairs, he's laughing. I burst out laughing. Nerves and everything. I'm like, thank God. In my mind, I'm like, the worst could have happened, Father, because in the estate next to us, there was a couple that you interviewed. Remember the photographer who lost his eye?
Yes.
And his wife got shot? Yes, I watched that interview and I said, that happened right next door us. I believe him. I know that story because I myself could have suffered that. That happened right next door us. When you have to die to yourself and offer yourself to God as a living sacrifice, to say, Father, I give myself to you as a living sacrifice for everything you have protected me against and from in this life. I give myself to you. I lay myself at the altar. Put me on the threshing floor. Work me anew. Make me into a new wine. Today sits here a new wine because God.
Yeah.
So I don't talk about my former employer. They'll sort themselves out.
Talk to me about motherhood and how you've navigated, you know, filling up your own cup while also having to take care of your children.
I think that's a simple one because I've never identified as a single parent. I'm a co-parent through and through. My family is so close-knit. I've co-parented with my parents. I co-parent with my siblings. Like right now, my brother and my sister-in-law have my kids. Yesterday, I was with my brother. We were doing some shopping for the household because, you know, when people are helping you with your children, you know to look after them in return.
Yes.
And my sister-in-law and my brother, they hold me down. We hold each other down, man. We're like, we take turns with each other. You know, Managa holds the fort down, Bome then takes over Managa. Then when Dineo can, she'll take over Nompomelelo, Ranaka, Oteng, Malome. We're such a close family. There's no single parenting. So I don't know ever a moment when I can say, I've had to pour from an empty cup. Because there are so many full cups for the children in the family.
Yes.
So many full cups. And also I think the one thing that I've learned to do is not silence my children's voices. In every bad decision I've made that has exposed them to bad people, I've given my children the platform to call me out on my nonsense from a young age. So my children, if you were to sit with them and engage them on conversations right now, you'd feel like you're talking to me. Because that's how emotionally advanced they are.
Yes.
Because also that's the kind of family we come from. Speak up, be heard.
So,
You know?
and I think it's great that you have that village actively there.
Yeah.
And that's one thing people admire about your family, having watched you guys on screen. How do you manage the co-parenting with the fathers of the children?
We don't talk about that anymore. No. The country does not know what to do with that narrative. So they don't
I
deserve,
love that you say that.
They don't deserve the wisdom
Yeah.
that would come from that answer.
Yeah.
They can figure it out on their own should they find themselves in my situation.
So then let me not ask you how. Let me then ask you.
Let's not ask me anything about that.
No, not even that.
Yeah.
Is because, you know, being a parent, it requires a certain level of maturity for a lot of things, right? And the conversations online, I always say, are not real life. What would you advise parents that they should work on in themselves to make them better parents, better co-parents, better whatever, modeling for their children?
I can't tell you. Just please read your Bibles. Trust scripture. Spend time in solitude with God. I don't have all the answers because we are all so different from each other that God whispers differently to each of us. And he holds the blueprint on everything about how to be a human being. He does. I've made so many mistakes in my life. I'm very cautious on giving advice right now. I'm very, very sensitive about opening up my mouth to give advice. And I've had this conversation with God, and I think that's why he has blessed me with a show that says music entertainment. Nothing else to do with advice, nothing else to having to do with being the nation's savior. No. I've had specific conversations with God to say, please give me a break from that. Please just give my mouth, my heart, my talents, my gifts, my calling, my purpose, a break from that. I don't have all the answers. I've said once before, don't look at me and
Don't put me on a pedestal.
don't put me on a pedestal. You make it very uncomfortable for me to be human, and I mean that.
Yeah.
I want to be human. In the eyes of God, I want to present as broken. I want to present my mistakes to God. I want to present my lack of knowledge to God. I want to be refined by God. I want, and need non-perfection in my life. So much I'm desperate for not being perfect. I don't have the answers.
Yeah.
I don't, but I can say the Bible teaches me so much. And for your unique situation, it might do the same for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I have to say there's a different air about you from maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is,
Yeah.
but there's a different air about you. And I don't know if it's part of growing up, but it sounds like you are on a very clear path of healing and going through something spiritually and alignment. And it's difficult, living your life publicly while you're also trying to navigate stuff. So I totally understand when you say, these are my new boundaries of what I don't talk about. Because it helps you redirect energy into the places that you need it to be. Now, you had a podcast, and I was so excited. Do you remember me messaging you about, you have a podcast?
The Sex and Stuff podcast?
No, the one before. Identity. ID.
Oh, yes, when I did one episode.
Girl, why did you rob us?
Because
Talk to me.
Can I be honest with you?
Yes.
I'm this one person, when the conversation is done, move on to the next. And then I had nothing more to say.
So wait, what was the actual premise of the podcast? What was the main premise? Because I was looking forward to, I don't know, I thought that first ep was so groupy. I said, I can't wait to see what she does in the next.
I felt like there's a conversation that needs to be had, and it's between myself and this person. And after that conversation was had, honestly, I had no more talk in me. So that was it. It was a one episode season, never to be redone, and that was it. And then I had Dineo on Sex and Stuff.
Yes.
And then I realized, sure, I put this vision of mine on the wrong platform. It's been completely watered down and trivialized. And this is not how I wanted to talk about sex. So let's put the plug on that, because I really wanted to talk about sex in a very dignified manner. And then I realized I'm not healed enough to talk about this, because every time I want to talk about it, I attach it to the terrible things that my ex-husband did to me. So let's stop that. Let's not speak from broken hearts because we spew bitterness. That you speak with the serpent's tongue through your mouth. It's venomous. So let's not speak. That's why God also, he encourages stillness and silence. So we're not all supposed to be speaking in the same season at the same time. And I called myself out and I said, stop. Stop. You are going to be a big part of the problem in society. Before it becomes a big problem, stop. Go back and consult with your father what this gift of speech is for you, and where you need to direct it,
and how you need to
use it.
So, what is in this season for you? I mean, you're back at Metro.
I am, sure.
And you being a creative, I'm sure your fingers are itching to do something, unless what you're going through is spiritually is putting you in a place of just being silent and just feeling and listening.
I'm in a season where God and I have a pact. And the pact is this: no matter how tempting it is, don't announce it. I, your father, when the time is right, will place it under good light that it can't be missed.
So in essence, watch the space.
In essence.
In essence, watch the space.
Yeah.
Thank you for agreeing to come.
Thank you for asking me these questions that have made me for the first time be able to speak of all of this nonsense that I've been through without a tear in my eye or a crack in my voice. And I feel like truly, if you can tell your narrative without crying, you are in a good space. You are in such a good space. And because of you, and because of agreeing to be here, thank you for being used as an instrument to affirm that the past 2 years was not wasted. That truly a fine work was done on making me into new wine, because I come into rooms unarmed, hey? And it feels good to walk into spaces unarmed, because I've always carried bazookas, man, and just ready for war. It feels good to come into a space and say, I've got nothing more to defend or protect. It's all been laid on the table.
The one question that I did leave till the very end, because I know it's such a sensitive one, is the passing of your niece. I have never met her, but I sobbed my heart out for Manaka, for all of you. How is everyone holding up?
I can't answer that because I still cry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I'm at a place where I will talk about that
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
I want to again reiterate the condolences to all of you. I can't begin to imagine. It is heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. And I wish you all so much healing. I wish Manaka healing. And I hope you know, much as the negative voices are loud, there are so many positive voices that root for all of you. Even when they love from afar.
Thank you.
And keep you in their prayers. Please know that. Please know that. That is that's a tough one.
Thank you.
Dineo Ranaka, I adore you.
I love you. Oh,
Keep
yeah, I love
shining.
you a lot.
Thank you for listening to me on radio and messaging me.
Guys, on 702, during the lunchtime slot, ne? You are 12 to 3.
1 to 3.
1 to 3. 1
yes.
to 3. Yeah, you guys are weird with your
Yes,
scheduling that side. Yeah,
yes.
it's not orthodox.
Yes.
My partner and I, we love that show. This is what I texted you and I told you. We are obsessed with that show. Like there's a way that you have on air that is so authentic, and you are more interested than you try to be interesting. And I think that's the magic about great broadcasters. They are interested more than they try to be interesting. So you don't have that broadcaster syndrome that wants a me, myself, and I show. We feel like it's our show. And I love that. I enjoy listening to you broadcast so much. I never thought, I knew, but I never thought that I would, as a broadcaster myself, listen to a radio show. And also because sometimes I think the industry has made us believe that the strength of radio is in a man. And it blindsides you when you catch yourself falling in love with a female broadcaster, genuinely and authentically saying, no, man, baby, man, haramamela show ela. Today, ne, we mark certain things, gasho we are how, because it's part of us. So from me to you, I love who you have become on broadcasting, and this is what happens to people when they are in spaces that are healthy, spaces that are safe, spaces that allow for their nervous systems to relax, and spaces that pour into their confidence. Flowers bloom when they are nurtured well. And I have a feeling that you're going to be at probably 702 for a long time to come. They're looking after you nicely, ne?
They're looking after me.
Yes, people bloom, guys. People bloom when they are loved well. They don't come in with bazookas, man. When people are coming up and into spaces with bazookas and ready for war, you must know that they are shortchanged of love.
And
they are
you get a different version of
You
the
get a different
person.
version of the
Yeah.
person. You must
Yeah.
know that they're shortchanged of the ingredient that makes them blossom. And that's just love, respect, kindness, support. And I hear it on air. I'm like, this woman, yeah, man.
And she tells me, which is what I appreciate, and I have
You're
to
welcome.
thank you.
Thank you.
You have always
Thank you.
been real with me. I know you're a phone call away, and I appreciate you, and I just
welcome.
thank you for coming.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for opening up, and I think when people watch this, they're going to see a very different side to you. I think they're going to experience a different kind of Dineo Ranaka, but thank you for tuning in. Any questions, put them down below. Maybe she'll answer. I can't promise. And let me know who else you'd like to see on the show. Don't
I
forget.
will answer.
You will answer.
I will
There we go.
answer, yeah.
Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so that you can be the first to know when new episodes are out. Thanks for tuning in.